It's a wild world out there, but some worlds are even wilder. Hi, my name is Tyler Hapney, and you're listening to Dungeons and Dystopias. Thank you for listening. Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of Dungeons and Dystopias. I am your host and game master, Tyler Hapney. I have played over 200 sessions of Dungeons and Dragons and Cyberpunk combined, and this podcast is a way for me to reconcile my thoughts on some of those systems. So today, I know we did Cyberpunk last week. However, some news has dropped in the Cyberpunk RED sort of sphere, and I would like to go over that today. So we're going to be doubling up on Cyberpunk this week, and we're going to be talking about the Cyberfists of Fury DLC that they released in Interface Red Volume 4. I don't think I've mentioned Interface Reds. Interface Red is when Artal Sorian, the guys that make Cyberpunk, put together all their free DLC. They put it into a large package, PDF, and then they will have an additional $10 DLC that they add on to the end of Interface Red Volume. We have Volume 4 now. So it's definitely it's new DLC. You know, all this old stuff is in here. Like a lot of the stuff we talked about, 12 days of Gearmas, that's in here. But the one I want to talk about is Cyberfists of Fury, which is an expansion on modern or martial arts in Cyberpunk Red, which really, honestly, kind of just it busts everything open. High-level play is, I would say, completely different now after this DLC, just because of all the different martial arts you can learn and the way they kind of fit with all your other skills. It's definitely like it's worth it now more than ever to get into at least one kind of martial art just for your character to have. But we're gonna go over. I don't think we can go over all of them. They added over 20 new martial art styles. Seriously, over 20 of these things. So we're going to go over a couple of my favorites rather than go over every single one of them, because we'd be here for quite a while. So first things first, the first one I want to talk about is boxing. So boxing is a brawling-based martial arts, which is important. It comes with two abilities, one of which requires you to have body 8 or higher. So basically, the strongest you can get out of character creation, or, maybe you've got a couple grafted muscle and bone lays. And then we have a punch combination. So if you hit with 2 brawling attacks in a single turn, you can do punch combination. Knockout punch, which is the body 8 or higher, will force you to, instead of making 2 attacks, you make 1 big attack aimed for the head. And if you hit, you break their jaw. And yeah, that's pretty cool. It's a -5 on the aimed shot, which usually it's a -8. So already, not that bad of a choice to just aim for the head and go to try to break someone's jaw, because if you hit them in the head, that's double damage. Punch combination, this one's really interesting to me. If you attack twice and hit twice with 2 brawling attacks, you can then use a martial arts skill check or a special move resolution to make a 3rd attack. So let's say I have 4d6 in my unarmed strike. I mean, maybe I have a linear frame or something. With a brawling attack, I would be dealing 4d6 ablated by stopping power, and then I do that again, which is really good. That's the equivalent already of a Militech Perseus in damage. And then for a 3rd time, I hit them with my brawling attack, which is better than a Militech Perseus, which is a $5,000 handgun. So yeah, I'd say definitely boxing is worth it for brawling characters, especially ones that have higher damage output. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about Drunken Fist. Drunken Fist is another one of my favorites from this DLC, because this one is one of the ones that actually, I think it's the only one that really counts luck. I mean, look, a lot of these fighting styles have ways to regain luck, But this one requires you to have at least 4 luck to use any of the abilities, which, that is cool. That's a neat requirement, because I think Drunken Fist as a fighting style, as it's portrayed in movies, is very much a sort of luck-based kind of thing. So anyways, with Drunken Fist, you get the environmental improvisation and lucky stumble abilities. Environmental improvisation just requires luck 4 or higher. And basically what this allows you to do is, if you beat a DV13 on your martial arts special resolution check, you can choose an item or piece of cover within melee range and then use that as a weapon. And it's pretty great. Being able to use random weapons in your environment as sort of improvised weapons, and they can go up to 46 damage, so pretty decent stuff, and definitely I'd say worth it for the most part, just because it allows you to really get creative with your environment. Lucky Stumble is another fun one. This one requires you to have your character be attacked by something they can't see or something they're not aware of. And this one allows you to, dodge bullets, even if you're unconscious or otherwise incapacitated. So it's like one of those situations where it's like, oh, maybe I'm down on the ground and somebody's about to shoot me, but then, the whole plane or something lists to the side and suddenly I roll out of the way just in time, which is very, very Drunken Master kind of aesthetic. I like that. I think it's really funny. Next up is Gunfu. If you've ever watched John Wick, this is exactly what they're going for. Gunfu. This is one that relies more upon having a handgun than actually having, your martial arts punching people up front. So with Gunfu, you get combat reload and the Wu technique. Combat reload, as long as you have attacked in action, you can use a martial arts special resolution to attempt to reload your gun for free, basically, which is really good. That is really, really good, because usually it is an action to reload. And in Cyberpunk RED, you only have 1 action per turn. So if you need to reload, that is your turn. But with this, that gets rid of that, so long as you make an attack in the same turn. And hit, I'm presuming. Wu technique, this is something you actually activate at the beginning of your turn. You activate it with your obviously your martial arts special resolution, and it's DV15, and once you've done that, you may now make martial arts attacks up to 25 meters away, so long as you have a handgun, of course, which is pretty great, being able to attack people with a handgun and having stopping power. So, if you have a heavy pistol that's 3d6, having stopping power, attacking from 25 meters away, that's pretty great. That's pretty awesome. There's really no other way to do that right now other than throwing. And even then, I believe throwing caps out at 25 meters or around there. So it's very similar to throwing, but in the sense that, different sort of things. You can combat reload. You don't exactly have to worry about running out of throwing knives if you've got plenty of ammo. Not only that, but whichever is highest between your martial arts ability and your handgun damage is what the Wu technique uses primarily. And then obviously this one is kind of fun. Your martial arts skills decrease the level of your handgun skill if it has a higher level than your handgun skill. So it uses the highest damage between martial arts and the pistol. However, it uses the lowest skill between martial arts and handgun, which I find interesting. I think that's a pretty decent way to balance it out. Of course, if you have the same skill on both, it doesn't matter much, but for the character I've used Gunfu on, that was not the case. And then finally, whenever you make a martial arts attack, ammunition is removed from your weapon as if it was fired normally, and the effects of any ammunition fired are added to your martial arts attacks. So, yeah, if you're firing like with a armor-piercing weapon or incendiary ammo, that still counts, which is really good. So it's not just limited to only single, like normal ammo, but you can use all the crazy types of ammo out there that you could possibly want. and that will work with Gunfu. All right. So the next one I want to talk about is going to be Kendo. Kendo is a sword-based fighting style, and this one is crazy. It has Cut the Bullet in Kiken Tai no Ichi. Cut the Bullet is possibly a very strong ability. I would say maybe one of the strongest out of this martial arts array. As long as you have a sword and a willpower of 8 or higher, which I don't know if you can get higher than 8 willpower, and you requires a melee weapons level, skill level 6 or higher. So there's a pretty wide gap here of entry to kind of be able to use Kendo appropriately. But while you are aware of your attacker, and you're being shot with a ranged weapon used in single shot firing mode, or have been included in the blast radius of an explosive, you can cut the bullet. Which means you make a special move resolution against the attack check of whatever is trying to hit you. And if you succeed, you straight up cut the bullet. The attack does no damage. You can completely negate an explosive round, like a rocket or a grenade, by cutting the bullet. And it will deal no damage. It won't even explode. That's amazing. That's really, really, really good. However, there is, like I said, a pretty large sort of gate when it comes to getting in and using Kendo, because you have to do a lot of stuff. You have to have like your own build match Kendo. With Kiken Tai no Ichi, this one's insane too. So remember that aim shot thing I mentioned earlier? It's usually a -8 and then it's a -5 for boxing. Well, with Kiken Tai no Ichi, if you use this, you just need to be in combat. At the start of your turn, if you succeed on a DV15 martial arts special resolution check, guess what? Your next aim shot is a -2. That's it. It's just -2. It's not a -2 to the -8. It is straight up just -2, which is crazy. But it's only on one attack. But still, with an aim shot, you're only allowed to make one attack per turn on an aim shot. So it's really the only attack you need. And if you're going for the head, then that's going to deal double damage, and you get the idea. Kendo's great. Kendo's really, really good. It's extremely strong. Next one I want to talk about, we want to get into a little bit of the crazy ones here. I want to talk about multi-arm melee. So in Cyberpunk, you can have multiple arms. You can have up to 4 arms. Well, actually, more than 4 arms, excuse me. This is Cyberpunk. You can have as many as you'd like. But 4 arms, we'll say, for the sake of example here on multi-arm melee. You can grapple 1 person per arm you have. So if you have 4 arms, you can grapple 4 people. That is important for what I'm going to say soon here. Armed and dangerous. This one is very fun and extremely good. If you can beat a DV15 or a DV17 if you've already used this on a martial arts special move resolution. You get a bunch of abilities if you beat that. For one, you get advantage on your check, which means you roll 2d10, take the highest. Your aimed penalty shot is down to a -5, just like boxing. And if you are a solo, you may immediately reassign all your solo points upon succeeding this. So obviously, put it all into spot weakness and watch your enemies crumble. Next up, talking about grappling people. This one is important. Smack together. As long as you have people in 2 or more grapples, you can deal your body stat directly to everyone you have grappled by just slamming them together. Right? Like imagine you have 4 people grappled and you have a body of 12, right? Or a body of 11 or whatever. You use this ability, you are now dealing 11 to 12 damage straight to their HP. That's 4 people at once. Usually you need an explosive or something to get that kind of coverage, but with Smack Together, that ain't no problem. All right. We're going to go into one last one. So I'm going to make this one good. I think we're going to talk... Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about Panzerfaust. So Panzerfaust is a fighting style that was made exclusively for full board conversions. So people who are all robotic. This is also, funnily enough, seems to be a fighting style made for NPC bosses as well, though there's still quite a lot of utility you can get as a player. So Panzerfaust comes with Borgfist and Inner Chrome. Borgfist is pretty simple. Much like boxing, it replaces 2 attacks with just one big one. And if you succeed on this special move resolution against their evasion, you, instead of dealing like 3d6 or 4d6 as you might have being a full board conversion, you instead deal 5d6 damage on that punch, which is the single strongest punch in Cyberpunk, except for the fact that Panzerfaust, if the person who has it has less than 0 humanity, so they are a cyber psycho and are a boss, they deal 66 damage on that punch, which means if you get hit, you're going to be taking quite a lot of damage. I would say at least 15, 10 to 15, maybe even 20 damage, which is insane. And then last, because remember, obviously, this also has stopping power because it's a martial arts ability. And then last but not least, we're going to get into Inner Chrome here. So Inner Chrome is basically a way for full board conversions to shake off all of the EMP effects that they're dealing with. Because that is hands down probably one of the better ways to fight a full board conversion is with EMPs, because obviously they're all made of metal, all their parts are or whatever. Usually they have some sort of protection, but as I recall, their EMP coating is kind of a consumable, so you can break down that shield. However, with Inner Chrome, for every piece of cyberware you have that's been damaged, you add +2 to the DV. Starts at 11. But if you beat it, you ignore the EMP. It's gone. You can just continue going. And this doesn't exactly necessarily mean adjusted EMP. If it's been damaged, disabled, or otherwise rendered inoperable. So that could mean a couple different things. It does not mean destroyed, however. If it's totally destroyed, that doesn't work. However, if you are below 0 humanity, as is the pattern, you can reuse destroyed cyberware. And they won't be destroyed for the rest of that combat. So really, at the end of the day, Inner Chrome's kind of like a sort of second phase to a boss fight. You know, if your boss activates this, you've got some serious business that you're about to be taking care of. So yeah, Inner Chrome, really good for cyber psychos. Honestly, I think probably likely to change the sort of meta on how we approach cyber psychos, because I think now they're going to be way harder. But yeah, wow, there's just so many different fighting styles here. I really want to go through them all. Stuff like Soft System, Tai Chi, really fun. Wrestling is interesting. Being able to grapple somebody and choke them in the same turn is, I don't want to say a game changer, but really good. It's really, really good. It really, a lot of these just change a lot of utility for different skills and things like that. One thing I would have liked to see, I will say, and I think this might be a strange opinion, but I think it would have been cool to see a martial arts connected to the dance skill. Just because. I think that would have been neat, but that's fine. What we have now is okay. Let's get into our monster of the week, or metaphorical monster of the week. And I actually want to talk about a single person today. Now, rather than an organization, this DLC has with it a large write-up from the perspective of a character we have not seen since the Arasaka Tower bombing. So that's pretty significant. This character in question is a full board conversion named Shaitan. And Shaitan does show up in Cyberpunk 2077, but according to Johnny, gets shot pretty quickly. That is not how it goes in the actual raid. But it seems Shaitan has been dealing with the whole fallout of the Arasaka situation rather strangely. It seems he went a little crazy after his whole encounter with Adam Smasher and wound up floating on an autonomous ship out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And he was on board this ship with a whole load of experimental Militech technology, which he, slowly, piece by piece, integrated into his full Borg frame. We also learned that he trained himself in multiple different martial arts: Muay Thai, Anis, Silat, Krav Maga, everything. Panzerfaust, he's got that as well. But he goes basically cyber psycho a couple of times out on this boat before eventually he gets picked up, and he's back at it. Now he's sworn revenge against Arasaka and Saburo Arasaka, and he is out there being just crazy, tearing things up. But Shaitan is one of the more important characters in Cyberpunk Red lore, and if you have not looked through his backstory or looked through Shaitan's lore, I'd suggest it. He personally, during the Arasaka Tower bombing, was one person to try to take on Adam Smasher on his own. It didn't work out for him. He got his biopod removed, but at the end of the day, I believe it was a completely necessary thing in order for the Arasaka Tower bombing to go kind of the way it did. So, end of the day, Shaitan, super unappreciated character, and I'm excited to see him back in the lore, and I cannot wait to see what R. Talsorian decides to do with him. That'll be it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. I've been really enjoying this podcast, and I'm looking forward to talking a bit about some Dungeons & Dragons for real next week. As for now, my name is Tyler Hapney, and this has been Dungeons & Dystopias. Thank you so much for listening.